most really appreciate. I know we had a good chat a couple of weeks back. I
Yep.
thought, blimey, it'd be great to get you on just to talk about about schools coaching and how you go about delivery and just everything that goes with it, really. So, what going into it first of all, what made you decide to go down that route full time? I know you said before you've been a coach for a long time and you were doing a lot of
Mm.
some. What made you decide to transition fully into schools coaching?
I think it's something I've always been good at, and it's something that I've always done. I turned pro. I think I joined the PGA late 90s, qualified very early 2000s. So that's like the Stone Age. And I've done every single job within that. So for example, you've been the assistant pro, and you've been the qualified assistant, where I was at my club where I was a junior. Actually, I went back to that club and spent 4 or 5 years there, and it was really sort of like the role there was to boost juniors, schools, beginners, the whole group class thing. That's what we did. And it was a huge success for 4 or 5 years. Then I went into a dual role, which was a head professionals role with a college role as well, so college coach role. And I did that obviously with older juniors, so effectively 16 to 18-year-olds. And I spent 2 years delivering the advanced apprenticeship in sport and excellence, which I presume it still is now, but maybe it's moved on now. And then really, I sort of went into, my daughter was born and the recession came, and I'm not in a wealthy area, and I had to get a proper job. And I took a role in a school, a secondary school, as a pastoral role. And for me, it was going to be 3, 4, 5 months, and then I'm going to get back into golf. I didn't really want the head pros job. I wanted to do what I was, that freelance sort of coaching role. And 7.5 years later, I pretty much led many classrooms. I'd had my own AP unit, which is alternative provision. So pupils who are about to be shown the door for one of a better reason, or they're being welcomed back in from being in a pupil referral unit. It was my job then to transition them from struggling youngsters into a mainstream setting. And I did that for nearly 7 years. And it was an amazing, probably the best experience for coaching wise that I've ever had. So I've been a PGA pro for 15 years, but when you go into a mainstream school, you learn how to coach, you learn how to teach, differentiating every single GCSE subject, so it's accessible to these young people, and they don't care about it. They've been kicked out of mainstream. They're about to be shown the door, and then you've got to try and enthuse them back into it. And it was a challenging role, and it was a great school, and one that I'll always sort of like have a soft spot for. And it really taught me a lot about how to organize, how to nurture, how to encourage, how to motivate. I really learned to teach in that classroom setting. It was just a completely accidental scenario in many ways. I didn't plan on it. I wouldn't have chosen it 5, 6 years before. But yeah, best thing I ever did. And then I got back into golf full time, probably 2017, when my academy outside of school was getting bigger, and it was sort of like tipped over the edge for in terms of financial. I was earning more from that than I was from school, and I was approaching 40, and I thought, you know what, it's make or break. Let's give golf another go, and using the skills that I'd learned over the last 6, 7 years. And that schools was the main focus. I knew I wanted to really focus on juniors. And that's kind of where I am now. And it's where I've been for the last 5, 6 years, I think. 99% of my business is within a school setting. It's a national business now. I'm from the north of Lincolnshire, and it started with after school clubs. And then you get into sort of like school days, and then you get into like PE sessions. And then suddenly you're into whole school days, and suddenly you can go across the water into the Humber and across into Hull. Then you can go into Yorkshire. And now I've got schools from Berwick, which if you look at a map is on the edge of Scotland, all the way down to Berkshire. So, I've got schools spanning 30 million kids. It's just nuts. It's absolutely insane, the way it's sort of spanned the last couple of years in particular. And So in terms of structuring the days, what I actually do, I do most of it is primary golf experience day. So that is going to primary schools, obviously, for the day, where I teach everything from reception through to year 6. Key stage 1, so reception 1 and 2 are putting games. 3, 4, 5, and 6 are playing physically the same game on the same space on the field. Years 3 and 4 are doing chipping, and year 5 and 6 are doing driving. And how can that be the same space? I use an airflow ball as well as the Golfway clubs. So it's super safe, super accessible, and yeah, it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. I also do secondaries. So secondary is more, again, it's a 3-way split. So I've got each year group has Golfway club airflow ball, and then we introduce real club airflow ball, and then we introduce real club real ball, or real club 3/4 ball. Depends on the field, not so much size but shape. I had one recently where it was an enormous field. The problem was the school was right in the middle of it, so you had 400 yards front to back, but only 100 yards wide. So that was 3/4 ball. And I've had schools where corner to corner it's 300 yards, and it's like, oh, we can just get a real ball out and give it a smash. So yeah, everything's a little bit more differentiated. As a result, this year alone, 142 primaries, 17 secondaries, and most of those are sort of like biased towards the winter months. So I tend to go into secondaries over winter, where you've got sports hall, obviously in between exams and stuff like that. So, and yeah, they tend to be more open. So some of the pros will watch this. They might not get a lot of results from secondaries in summer. Secondaries are going to be a nightmare because they've got so much going on, and year 11 focus and all those sort of things. So winter might be a good option for people if they want to get into secondaries, particularly January, February time, because the exams have usually finished and then they're just doing preps and you've got the sports hall back. So I would think along those lines rather than going for the summer. Whereas primary's pretty much all year round. I tend to have December and January off. But everybody, and I mean everybody, no matter how many emails you send, have you got sports week? Have you got that week in June where it's just like, no, I haven't even got it for next year. It's booked up. It's gone already. You're just not going to get in. So give them an alternative date and hopefully then the book in. So yeah, it's been absolutely crazy. I know you had Neil Plimmer on the chat last week, was it? Or 2 weeks ago?
A few weeks ago, yeah. Neil was wonderful. Yeah, really good.
I've got to give him a shout out, to be fair. I've got to give him a shout out. I knew he was doing some good stuff down south. And when I was trying to transition from, I've always been a big picture sort of guy, and you'll find that in a second. But, when I was transitioning from sort of like, how do I take these after school clubs and these PE sessions and make them something a bit more encompassing? And my idea was to go into sort of like sports competitions, have inter-school competitions. And to be fair on him, I got a chance to speak to him, and he said to me, forget externals, forget taking them out of school, and then, because it's just not going to happen. It's just so much organisation involved, just not going to happen. And focus on the whole school rather than just years 4 to 6, the usual ones that feed junior academies. No one does anything for reception. No one does anything for year 1. No one does anything for year 2. And since I started doing that, it has just exploded. I mean, like exploded. It's just been insane. And so I've got to give him a massive thank you for that, because that was an insight that I wouldn't have had. I was very sort of like, who are my juniors at my club? Well, they're in the 8 to 12 bracket. I'm going to focus on those, and actually, it's made me a far better coach. Just, reception class in September is something else. If you've never had a reception class in September, it's a different level of coaching. It's mind blowing. And so yeah, and my days look very different to Neil's. I say, I use a lot of the Golfway stuff, so the driving and iron clubs more than anything else. And mine are very much high energy, super competitive. Lots going on. The actual session themselves are typical session, let's say, for example, Key Stage 2, Year 4, chipping, they'll have 3 phases in a game. So a 45-minute session will have 3 phases. First phase will be explore, where they explore where to stand, how to hold, how to move. I'll give them a very basic guideline of, there's the flag, here's some point structure, so some circles and some point structure, and 2 hands on a handle, that's it, go play. And that's their explore mode. And then we go into challenge yourself mode. So the 2 blue lines become a river that they have to cross. At that point, half the class goes, oh, we can't get it over there. We'll give them a little bit of feeding, a little bit of coaching, some coaching points across. Suddenly they explode into life and it goes to the next level. And in the third part, and I love this part, it's called Challenge Others. And just prior to this, I will have given the teaching staff 2 golf clubs and said, just take a couple of shots, see how you get on. And then I'll throw them in the deep end, and every pupil has the option of challenging Miss, Sir, or me for double points. And it's awesome. It's just absolutely awesome. And the Golfway Club is amazing because it's a great leveler. You'll always have a kid who's played loads. He plays at a club or whatever, and he's got a lot of golf experience. And he wants to show you that. But it'll always be the little girl next to him, Lucy, who's like, she looks like she's in Year 1, but she's actually Year 4. And she's the one who's pinging the ball out there. And it's just amazing. So it's a great leveler. It's a great way to get success. So if anybody's not using Golfway, use it. It's just amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And woefully, and I mean woefully, underappreciated, because the stuff it can do in schools is amazing. And it gets battered. And I mean battered. And it's still in one piece. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Bulletproof.
And that's been a place where I suppose, a couple of insights we're going to talk about tonight. To me, when I look around the space of coaching in schools, everybody's kind of getting it wrong because they're chasing the wrong thing. They're looking at the wrong problem. They're solving the wrong problem. If you look at, my goal, so the goal of Stu Warren Golf is quite simple. I want to make golf the second most played sport in the country. That's it. The second most played behind football. And how do we do that? Well, I want it to be the second most played sport in schools. And if you get the second most played sport in schools, you've got basically that structure to say it's the second most played sport in the country. And it's not from the lack of will on the pupils. The pupils want to play it. They love it. People want it. The schools are very open to it. We're solving the wrong problem, though. And here's the problem. Golf really is an inverted pyramid. It's an upside down pyramid. And it's worse than that. So in other words, the people that are feeding the pyramid are actually the smallest group. And it's worse than that because the bottom of the pyramid has been cut off and it's kind of shelved over here in an entertainment and hospitality space. And if you want to know what that looks like, it's people who go to the driving range. It's people who go to pitch and putt. It's people who go to crazy golf. And I live in a seaside town, so I know all about that. And there's a disconnect there. So millions of people play the game, love the game in some form, but will never go up the pyramid to golf club membership, junior academy, blah, blah, blah. They won't do that. And the problem is the pyramid's upside down. And the reason the pyramid's upside down is because they're not playing it in their own space. Now, you and I both walk across playgrounds for a living. That's what we do. And when we walk across playgrounds, we walk across football pitches. We walk across netball courts, basketball courts. We walk across cricket pitches. We walk across rounders fields and athletics fields right now. And they're all designated in the ground spaces where those sports are played. And at break and dinner, the plastic shed gets opened and all the stuff comes out. And you've got basketballs, and you've got footballs, and you've got tennis balls and aluminium tennis rackets, and you've got cricket bats coming out. I've seen massive hockey sticks coming out. I've never seen a golf club come out. And that's the fundamental problem that we need to solve. There's 2 technologies. There's a technology that you and I are doing. We're going into schools and we're doing these great sessions and we're promoting golf. But we're not allowing it to be played in school unsupervised. Until we bridge that gap, that technology is missing. So the biggest piece of technology in tennis is the court. is a simple line that makes a net and 2 baselines. We can play tennis now. It's not the ball or racket, because we can exchange those for something else. We can't exchange the court. When was the last time you saw a golf zone, golf court in school? Doesn't happen. And so if we're not solving that problem, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how good your coaching is. It doesn't matter how good our games are. Nothing is going to culturally cross that divide, and you're going to be getting the results that you posted the other day. You said, if you give an after-school club or if you give a PE session to 20 kids, 3 will join your after-school session, and 1 might come to the club. I would argue that's quite optimistic, because it depends on the type of school, where it is geographically, where your club is, how much time the parents got, how much money the parents have got, if they have golf within the family, are they native to golf? Is parents and grandparents play? Are they non-native to golf? Which is very, very difficult. I look at my junior academy, and at the moment, I would say all of them are non-native in terms of golf. In other words, they haven't got a parent or grandparent who plays. And that's simply testament to the years and years and years of going into schools and getting these people into a structure where they can play and they can feel safe. And that's, the majority of golf needs to be played within a school setting. So you look at football. Most football is played at break time and dinner time in schools up and down the country. That's where the overwhelming majority of it is. Hence why I go into a lot of schools at Sheffield. Sheffield Wednesday has a huge community program. I often bump into their coaches. I've actually never bumped into a United coach yet, but I've often bumped into a Wednesday coach. And you think the majority of their football participation is within a school setting. Wouldn't it be great if golf had that in 5 or 10 years? So that Cleethorpes Golf Club or Bannatyne Humberston, where I'm the pro at, or Pottergate Golf Club Lincoln, had their own in the community program where we go in and we coach in schools, and the kids play within a school setting. And we need the technology to do that. And it's not electronic technology, it's not fancy clubs that are expensive. It is simply lines. And so, I've just put a new video out actually called Birdie Box, which is on my YouTube channel. And this is what I send into schools. So Birdie Box basically is, for want of a better phrase, it is a bird's head on the field. It's a big circle, which is the outer circle, a smaller circle where the player stands in and hits the ball, and an open beak. And those 2 triangles point at the flag and hoop. And those are now embedded in schools, up and down the country. You think, well, they now have a safe, 0 cost, which is a big bonus for schools, by the way, 0 cost and dedicated zone for young people to play at break and at dinner, where they can then embed those skills that you've taught them in your after-school club or in your PE session. But without that simple technology of giving them a designated zone, you're going to have very, very, very mixed results. You're going to have you're just going to get the same as what everybody else has had over the years. And this is the space that I'm encouraging all pros to get into. So all the pros that love your stuff and listen to this podcast, please get into that other technology, because it is simple. When you see my video, you'll go, that is so basic, it's unreal. And it is basic because it has to be basic for a school. It's got to be instantly recognizable. And it's what I would call it's the John Logie Baird of televisions. It's the first one ever, and you think someone out there has got the 4K OLED 55-inch, but they're not using it, and they've got the idea. And I encourage all them to get involved and just try and do something. Because I think that's going to be where it's at in the next few years. You're going to have to put a space into a school at no cost where they can play. And I say my goal is to get clubs into physical golf clubs and balls into that play shed. That's your only goal, is to get them into that play shed and really to make it the biggest sport you can be. Because we're so woefully behind other sports. It's scary. And until you go in there and you see it, you realize what's missing. And it's actually quite simple what's missing, So yeah, just trying to embed that in. And, some good examples at a school called Rye Hope, which is in Sunderland. I think Sunderland. It's definitely up northeast. Yeah, Sunderland, I think it is northeast. And I came in there for a day earlier on this year. They've now booked in for 3 days next year, three full days. They've bought full golfway kit. And they're absolutely loving it. Absolutely loving it. Another school I went into, Bailey Green, I think that's Newcastle. They've installed a putting green in their playground. Literally a fantastic 10 on the stick meter putting green. It's amazing. So kids are actually playing golf at break and dinner, and you think, yeah, this is where it needs to be. It needs to be replacing the tennis rackets and the tennis balls, and where are we going to see golfers of the future coming from? Exactly where we see footballers coming from the playground. Where we see tennis players coming from the playground, not from the golf club structure. And if any pros are thinking, well, where does that leave my after-school club if they're all playing at a break? It elevates it. It puts it into a position which is better than. It's not just introducing. It is, listen, I know you guys play at break and dinner. Here's the real thing. Here's a new game for you. Here's where it's going to be. And that then elevates your position within that community. And so that's, if you look at all the initiatives that are going on as well, so lots of things around girls, lots of things around mental health, lots of things around young people starting. It's great. And the analogy I would use is they're a bit like the Uber. They're a bit like the Netflix. They're a bit like iPlayer. They're a bit like Facebook. They're a bit like Twitter. And we haven't invented the internet. There's nowhere for these children to actually play in school, unsupervised or loosely supervised, just break time supervision. Otherwise, all you've got is a fantastic system, a fantastic program, which needs huge amount of resources. A teaching staff, the pro going in, and it's not organic, it's not authentic, and unfortunately, it's not the children's. What's the phrase around play their way? Well, where are they going to play their way? With you and I giving it them? Is that playing their way? So we need the pickup version of golf, basically, which, we don't really see much, do we?
No, not at all, really. Do you think that's just thinking from maybe a non-golfer's at a school point of view? Do you think that's, well, I think you've hit a nail on the head in terms of what you said about, a cricket bat's quite dangerous, and a former cricket ball can be quite dangerous, but they're allowed to do it anyway. Whereas you look at if you weren't a golfer and you said, we're going to start playing golf at break and lunch, you think, oh goodness me, what are they using? But it's the education of, you say about golfway, the equipment's safe. It's a safe space. It's not just someone swinging a club at X amount of miles an hour when someone's walking behind them. Do you know what I mean? I think it's the education in that.
It's our role to create the technology. I use that word because it is a technology. The lines on the field, the zones in the corner of the field, woefully underused area, where these children can instinctively play safely, instinctively play with fun, create their own games. Okay. I'll give you a story actually. On Friday, the last session of the term, I'm at a school in Doncaster, and I'm just setting up. I've just gone from the playground to the field to set up, and it's break time. And I'm bending down to put this cone down, and I kid you not, a tennis racket landed about 3 foot away from my head. And I'm thinking, where's that come from? It's literally landed. So I turned around, and there's 2 year ones, like tiny tots, just walking, ambling across the field. I'm like, they've got this aluminium tennis racket and they're just throwing it. Okay, they're just throwing it. They weren't meant to be on the field. So I said to him, you need to be on the playground and sort of stuff, and gone back on there. I'm thinking, they had a tennis racket in their hand. And my instinctive thought was, I wish that was a golf club. Why need a golf club? They need a golf club in their hand. And I know there's a danger factor, but there isn't. Okay, and if we educate it properly and we install it properly, and more importantly, we design it properly, Another way, if any coaches out there are thinking of this and thinking, I've got a better idea than Stu's, here's a way to sell it. There's always a member of staff in a school who loves golf. it's a fantastic way for him and his colleagues to CPD at lunchtime. They can CPD at lunchtime all they want, and there'll be Titleist bags and tailor-made bags out there before you know it. I promise you. I've seen it. Okay, so it is also for staff as well as for pupils, and if they educate, it's fantastic. It's a great way of doing it. So there's all that to go in there. But it's we need that. We need that form of delivery on a mass scale. So I would love to see this problem solved in parks and in community spaces. Where the sign that says no golf. And I get it, it's a hard ball, hard club, but there are versions that aren't a hard ball, hard club. There are versions of sponge ball and golfway clubs and safe stuff and fun stuff. And why can't a kid get down the park with a golfway club and a sponge ball and have a great time with his mates and blast it all around the place? Yeah. Why can't they be knocking on the door of number 33 because the ball's gone over their side and Mr. Johnson's looking for the football, but it's actually the golfway sponge ball? Why can't that happen? Okay. And that to me is when we tip the pyramid the right way round, where we have mass participation at the bottom in school settings and out of school settings spilling out then, and then it filters upwards to the club environment. And that's really where you'll start to get momentum. And without that sort of thought, it's just like, amazing. The next thing I would say in terms of experience wise, which again, something I see a lot on social media, which really sort of like, you are losing so many players doing this if you're not careful. Left and right-handed. How can I put it? In golf, there's no such thing. It's two hands on the handle. There is no left and right. Your CNS, your central nervous system, will work in a slightly different way. There's evidence of that. There's research on that. And so what I do is I put both clubs down. I don't use the term left and right. I use white club, which is left-handed. I've put white tape on it. And right-handed is green club. So white and green. And I will tell them, some of you want to stand this side and hit it that way. Some of you want to stand this way and hit that way. And I leave them to explore in phase one. If they're struggling with one side, I'll ask them to do the other one. And what we see is a difference in fluency. So some children are really, really fluent with a white club that is left-handed. And some people are really sort of fluent with a right-handed club, which is green. And that does not correlate in any way, shape, or form to whether they throw, kick right in a single-handed task, right or left-handed. It doesn't correlate. So I put down some of the stats I had from the first half term of 2020 of 23-24, so September through to October last year. I went into 30 primaries, 6,800 children, 2,170, that's 32%. 32% chose the white club, the left-handed club. 32%. It's almost a third. Okay.
It's bad, isn't it?
90% of them, overwhelmingly 90% of them are right-handed. They throw right-handed, they kick right-handed, but they're choosing that way round. Now, if we go down the traditional route of are you right or left? Any left-handers in the house? Yeah, okay, right. You're at that end then because that's the safe way for you to play. You're basically saying goodbye to up to a quarter to a third of your group. They will struggle, they will fail, they will not succeed, and they will very quickly switch off golf because golf's not for them. So my opinion is that are you right or left-handed is the most dangerous question you could ever ask a player because I don't know if they're going to play right or left-handed. And shockingly, a lot of the club sets do not give you that option. So if
we said that, didn't we? We said that
coaching schools, invest in both clubs, and I promise you, you'll be astonished. You'll be astonished at the results. Okay, it is mind blowing when you see it. So right now, there are coaches out there watching this who, and I'm one of them. I'm one of these people who, in their junior section at their golf club, will have somebody who is playing the wrong way round. Probably 2 or 3 people who are playing the wrong way round. They don't know it. You don't know who it is, but they didn't get the choice. They got given a right-handed club because they right-handed. Don't look at my handwriting, by the way. It's horrendous. Okay. Hopefully my golf's better than my handwriting. But they've been given that, and that's the kind of solution it is. It's not it's not a good thing. We're limiting people's ability. Who knows what could have happened if they were given the right choice, or if they were given the choice in the first place. So I would encourage any school coach to really get out there and sort of like invest in 2 clubs, experiment with it, put them both down, give them the choice. Now, as a right-handed player, if anything, those stats are skewed towards me because I demonstrate right-handed. I play right-handed. I do the challenges right-handed. If anything, I'm actually making those stats better for right-handers from an influence point of view. So there is a real choice there that players got to make, and I wonder how many kids over the years I've said goodbye to because I didn't know that. I didn't give them the choice, or they arrived at the session, they had their own clubs, and at that point you're kind of stuffed because the parents have invested, and you can't experiment. So if you have a young junior who's got no clubs, experiment with both sides, see what happens, see which one they take best to. And if they take best to both, let them play with both for a while until you make that choice, until something happens. It'll be either developing a much longer shot, like a proper drive, where it shows. Maybe it's developing a shorter shot, like a wedge shot, where it really shows. But certainly mid-range shots, iron play, I think you'd be hard pushed to tell. I'm stunned by how every single day I get some kids, I get some classes that are overwhelmingly right-handed, some classes where you think, why is half the class playing with a white club? They're playing with a left-handed club and they're doing well. And they try the green one. Have you tried the green yet? Yeah, I've tried it. Show me them. And they can't hit it. It's like, wow. Now pick up a ball and throw it. I'll give you a bonus. Throw the ball. And they just literally pelt it right-handed. And you think, wow, if only I knew that 20 years ago. But now we know it. So please give players a choice. Absolutely give players a choice. Makes a huge difference. Huge difference.
Yes, as you say, if when you're a really young child and your kids are first learning to grip a pen or grip a pencil or a cut crayon, you just let them pick it up any which way. 5 minutes they're doing it one hand, then they're swapping around, then they're holding it backwards. You don't actually put it in their hand right-handed just because you do it. I totally agree with you there. But as you said, before the time runs out, the accessibility. We use at the moment tri-golf equipment, and if you buy an iron pack, you get 10 clubs, and 9 of them are right-handed. So getting hold of, there's no 50-50 split. It is, they're gearing up that way, which, as you say, is definitely the wrong way of going about it. Certainly. Well,
you're basically waving goodbye to 25% of your class. 25% are walking. They're gone. At least, you'll think, that golf wasn't for them. It wasn't that. It was literally they couldn't succeed with the way they were playing. And my job and your job, when we go into school, we have one job. And our real job is to provide competence. Our young people have to be competent at the game. Okay. If we're not making them competent after an hour or 40 minutes or half an hour, competence lies at the heart of it. So you have to give them every single opportunity to be competent. And that includes the choice architect draw, both clubs down. So again, if you go on my social, and you'll see it, it's 2 clubs down, the mat and the tube. And that's kind of how it all should be played, really. All should be played that way. The only thing I would say, and in key stage 1 putting, especially reception in year 1, safety, tight playgrounds, muggers, etc., is more important. And, we have to get them hitting shot after shot after shot after shot. So what I do with key stage 1 is I have a mat with an arrow and a circle where the ball goes and 2 feet marks. So I am pretty much 100% right-handed. If a child can't do it and they literally turn themselves the other way around, I don't say anything. That's fine. They're showing me that they can do it left-handed. Okay.
You're just giving safety structure, aren't you?
Safety structure to the session. And to keep it fast as well, to keep it moving. Otherwise, your kids are all over the place. So you need to kind of herd the cats at that point, if that makes sense. Yeah. Especially in September and October. Okay. Yeah. And so it brings on to our third point I think we want to talk to, which is, ironically, at the end of the session, the attention span of youngsters, which, it is amazing. I would say if you go into secondaries, you basically have 10 words to get a coaching point in. It's a 10-word coaching point. That's it. That's all you got. 10 words. And that's literally from blowing the whistle or stop. Everybody come over here, guys. Okay, everybody comes together. You got 10 words now. That's it. Yeah, these are Instagram, TikTok generation. Their attention span is like that. Okay, highly intelligent people, attention span like that. And you've got to be on it. You've got to be absolutely on it. You've got to distill down your coaching points down to the absolute first principles, bare minimum, most effective. It'll make you a better coach. It's going to be more effective in the session. It's giving them easy access. You literally have to get down 10 words or less. There'll be PGA pros watching this who grew up in the YouTube generation, 2008, 2009, 2010, then I qualified pros going to schools. Honestly, you'll see this. We thought it was bad then. The attention span now is just game over. It's not too bad in primaries, weird enough. Primaries are fine. Primaries, we can have a chat and we can talk about feedback and ask good questions and stuff like that to the pupils, and they'll be on it. Secondaries, nah. Secondaries, you need to be like short, fast, and really to the point. So I've got one example of I use what 3 words. So I'm thinking if I've got a coaching point, let's say, for example, we're doing driving and I want to add more tilt with the body to get the ball up in the air, it'll be what 3 words can I use? Well, step, tilt, swing. I'll demonstrate it. I'll reiterate it 3 times. Go, bang. And it's in the head and it's really effective then. And it's kind of like that's the sticky learning part because they're not really going to remember anything else,
No.
Especially if you've got a great game that they're embedded into. So yeah, be very mindful of attention spans because, I'm old school. I'm from the Stone Age, but, Instagram and TikTok and stuff like that, it is just so quick now. And it does have a huge effect on their attention span. And I would say it's only getting worse,
Yeah, I mean, look at. Funny enough, doing a lot more videos. Put a video out today. It was 60 seconds long, I think. One of the shortest ones we've done. Very quick, not many words, and it got the most views that I've had so far. So it's just, very, very interesting what you've just said there. Right, just to round off then and kind of lead back to schools coaching. Love that point you made about 3 words, kind of trying to get it in there. Do you think at the moment there's enough support for coaches in terms of, say, for example, I certainly when I first became a professional or an assistant, my coach was my employing professional was very proactive in getting me to go to schools. I shadowed him for several months. I know you've mentioned before about having people come to watch you deliver sessions. Do you think people try and jump a little bit early before I know you're not going to get total experience and exposure doing it, shadowing people initially, but do you think people don't neglect that a little bit and don't actually get the right sort of education in coaching big groups?
Double-edged sword. I mean, like you need to do it to learn. It's not something you can do in a classroom. One of the hats I wear is education tutor for England Golf as well, and so I deliver the brand new community golf instructor course, and that's there's 2 webinars online, and then we have a face-to-face day, and we've got some great, fantastic people involved in that. Wonderful team of education tutors are awesome. A lot of pros in there, and they're just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And we've had a great couple of cohorts. Only just launched this year. Brilliant cohorts coming through, and they're hopefully going to be the future of coaching within the community space. But even then, group coaching is often seen as the poor relation. In terms, if you go back to my club pro roots, a group class is seen as the poor relation to an individual class. For some reason we have this idea that if I've got an individual player who's a 14 handicap and I've got the TrackMan data behind me, I'm inherently a better coach than if I've got 15 guys who are just swinging a club trying to hit a ball 5 yards. And actually the skill set is completely different. There is no computer backing me up. There's no data backing me up. I've got to be good there and then, and especially in a school setting, you've got to be good there and then in a world or in an environment where competency is the norm. So teachers know what they're doing day in, day out, and they see good coaching day in and day out. And so you can't really go in blind to this. I have no idea what version of my primary school golf tour we're on now. Probably version 200, 300, who knows, okay? Because every single time it changes, you learn something new. There's something about the environment. There's something about, this kid here. There's something about what he's saying to me that I need to change this game a little bit because I've not picked up on it before. And if I change it, I heard this earlier on as well, and maybe 2 or 3 people say the same thing to you, and you change the game, you change the way you're coaching it. And that comes from experience. So is there enough support? There's lots of support out there. Is it effective? In as much as, learning to jump out of a plane with a parachute on is as effective as doing it. You can do it on the ground, but jumping out the plane is a different level, isn't it? You're going to get to the door and jump, and you'll learn so much more when you do that. And so it takes you so far, but, I'm more than happy for any coach to come and shadow me. As I say, I'm all over the country. It's a tour. It's booking up next year already. And so there'll be a school near you guys. If anybody wants to shadow me for the day to get some ideas, just to help out, more than happy for that. But it's something that you have to go fully in, absolutely fully in. Will you make mistakes? Probably. Who hasn't? If safety is the number one thing you're doing, you're going to be just fine. You'll make mistakes in coaching points. The games won't work sometimes. You'll do something that's a little bit too complicated for a younger age group. You'll do something simple for an older age group. What worked with a school down the road doesn't work with this school here. The children here seem to be a little bit more reserved. Maybe there's something going on at the school where they've been hammered a little bit and behaviour's been really sort of struck down on it a little bit. And they're a bit more reserved and within themselves rather than a school that just comes out and runs at you and goes, go, so there's so many different scenarios. And until you start doing it, you will find your own way of doing it. You'll find your own voice. You'll find who you are as a coach. Like I said before, Neil, who I spoke to a couple of times, Neil Plummer, if you look at what he does and what I do, it's completely opposite. Neither's right, neither's wrong. It's just different styles, and it suits both of us, and that's the key. And I'm sure if we met another coach, I'm sure if we went together, I'm sure that we do some things differently and we deliver differently, and it just depends on the coach. But you have to find your own voice and find the way you do it yourself.
Where can we, so for people that want to look at your stuff, look at the videos you're talking about, Birdie Box, where can we find, I know you've got Instagram, but where can we find all your info?
So socials are all the same. So Stu Warren Golf, STU, and then Warren Golf. And it's the same with the YouTube channel as well. I post the same thing on every channel, okay? And I'm fairly new to Instagram. I'm not a massive social media person. So, I'm better on grass than I am online. Let's put it that way. So please don't know with any pre ideas that this is going to be amazing. Okay, the stuff there is valuable. There's lots of games on the YouTube channel. Some of you will have the England Golf site and Try Golf pack games. They're very, very basic structure. We've got a new one that's in place now, and I've put some more games into that, which are a little bit more high level. I would encourage any coach to have 6 to 10 games in their arsenal, different game mechanics, look up game mechanics online, find out what you can put into your game. Nothing to do with golf, just literally games themselves. To take that game from a basic to a better to an unbelievable level. Your goal really is to have a game that lasts 3 or 4 weeks, where the kids want to play that same game over and over again, and you're desperate to move on to a new game with a new skill set, but actually the kids just want to keep playing it. That's when you've got something. So make the games immersive, addictive, fun, and give them ownership and choice. But all the games are on the YouTube channel. Everything's on my channel. If anybody wants to get hold of me, they can email me. So it's stuwarrengolf@gmail.com. I'm more than happy to send you out the tour schedule for next year. And we've obviously got this term still remaining as well. So until July. And again, I'm all over the country, so if anyone wants to get involved and have a shadow day with me, absolutely more than happy. More than happy.
That's very kind of you, and I'm sure people will take you up on it. Certainly, the more, just to round up, the more I speak to different people in the junior coaching sector, the more it makes me think we need to start some form of junior golf coaching proper community where we all get together. There's regular talks, discussions, whether that's a Facebook page or something like that. Something needs to happen to share ideas and grow the game, because there's a lot of good people out there doing, fighting for the same cause. If we all come together and do something, it could be really, I think it could be really powerful and really, really beneficial to golf in general,
Yeah, we seem to be isolated in pockets and doing our own thing. And I'm sure I will learn so much from other coaches. I will spot something and go, that's awesome. That's mind blowing. Why am I not doing that? I'm now doing it. And likewise to you guys as well. When you see some of the stuff that I do, and yeah, I would say to any up and coming coach, don't chase the same space in terms of, don't just try and go for the after school club. Give a whole service. So one of the things we haven't talked about, and it's very, very briefly, when I go into a school, and let's say, for example, it's 10:30 till 10:45 is break, 10:45, year 3 come out. That's not the first time they've ever seen me. It's the first time they've seen me in public, in real life. It's not the first time they've seen the game. Before I go to a school, I send them a video of the game they're going to play, and some schools send it out to their parents as well, so the kids have already played the game if they're golfers. So they actually already know the game. It's called Flip Classroom. Flip the classroom in your after-school clubs. Flip the classroom in your normal academy at the golf club. Okay, let the kids come in. So that 1 hour session is fully on. You're not explaining things to them. You're not teaching them things. They already know what they're going to do. They already know the skills they're going to learn. And you're there just giving them the challenges, giving them the game, giving them the access, and making it on task all the way through. So any up-and-coming coach, flip the classroom. It's a huge time saver. It organizes your coaching thoughts in your head already. You know exactly what you're doing on the day. And, you're just flying. It makes life so much easier, so much easier. And it looks more professional from the outside. This coach, we know what he's going to do. We know what we're expecting. Let's go for it. It's going to be a great day. And because believe me, that there are times when I go into schools and, Mrs. Smith is thinking, we could be doing English and maths here, we could be, these kids will be out with the reading and we've got SATs coming up and, we're swinging a golf club. I'm not sure what this is about. If you give them the game to start with and they're fully immersed in it already, it's half the battle won. Half the battle won.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for your time again. Great to catch up again. I'll be putting this out a couple of weeks. I'll clip it up. It'll probably be out. I'll bring it out next week. I'll put it out next. It comes every video comes out Thursday 6 p.m. on our YouTube channel, and this will really. Brilliant. I'll do a little snippet video. Tag you in. I've tagged you in a couple of other things anyway. With videos Brilliant. Going out actually that we've discussed before. And yeah, I think it can really help. This will be really, really informative and beneficial to professionals looking to pursue schools coaching, because there's plenty out there and there's plenty of golfers to be found and people to be educated. So thank you very much.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
As I said, have a look at Stu's Instagrams, Facebooks, and things. I'm certainly going to jump on there later on, and we'll talk again soon. Thank you very much.